All right. We got a lot to get to, so let's get right into dissecting this game. And then also I'm going to be spending a good amount of time. I mean, these are never long, so you don't have to like strap in and, get a cup of coffee or a water. It's too late for a cup of coffee. Uh, I do want to talk about the stuff that happened post game with Kyrie Irving and the water bottle incident with the fan and the logo stomping. So I'm going to get into that too. But let's first talk about the actual game that happened, as the Celtics were just basically outclassed in this game, 141 to 126, extremely high scoring game. I hope you took the over, because not a lot of defense to be found in this game, and it's different than the other two Celtics losses in this series because I think the Celtics actually showed good effort tonight and played pretty well. But you see what the Celtics playing pretty well against the Nets team that plays well. It's a it's still a blowout. It's a 20-point margin. So when the Nets are playing at their highest level and they weren't quite there, and when the Celtics are playing at their highest level and they weren't quite there, so both playing at reasonably high levels, the Nets are just so much better. That's the simplest way I can put it, is that when both teams play a pretty good game like tonight, the result 100 times out of 100 is going to be the Nets kicking the crap out of the Celtics because their team is just that much better. That's the reality of the situation that we find ourselves in right now, is that the Nets, top to bottom, are a much better team than the Celtics. And you had good performances from guys in the Celtics. Jason Tatum again was outstanding, I thought. I mean, he wasn't as great as the other night, but he was still terrific. He had 40 points. Marcus Smart, very good. Evan Fournier, very good. Romeo Langford played pretty well in a spot start for Kemba Walker. You got some contributions off the bench, which you really get, and yet you gave up 141 points because the Nets' big three was clicking. Harden at 23. Kyrie tortured you with 39, and Durant had the easiest 42 you'll ever see. So it's just, this Nets team is that good. That's not an excuse for the Celtics to play poorly or to lose. It's just the reality of how much better they are than you right now, is that when you even play a good game against them, if they play well, nobody can beat them. Again, not an excuse. And I don't like seeing writers who cover the team saying, well, no one's going to beat them anyways, so what's the point? Well, build a better roster and be more competitive, because there's a huge distance between these two teams right now in terms of quality of the team. And as far as the win the Celtics had the other night, they played really well, specifically Jason Tatum, but Tristan Thompson was outstanding. Marcus Smart was really good. And the Nets weren't firing on all cylinders. They didn't have Kyrie Irving playing well in that game, and that's why they lost. But when they have everybody playing well, I don't think that there's a team in the league that can beat them. Again, for the last time, not an excuse. The Celtics should not use that as a cop-out. But that's just how good this Nets team is. They're legitimately freakishly talented. So I don't have a problem with the Celtics' effort tonight. I did in game one and game two, and I did most of this regular season. But I thought they played hard tonight, and they tried. And so I can't get too mad at them when they're trying. I can be mad at Danny Ainge for putting together such a flawed roster and letting a team like the Nets that you supposedly buried get to this point where they're so good. I can be mad at Brad Stevens for not coaching the team up enough this season to avoid playing the Nets in the first round. I can be mad at the players for not living up to their end of the bargain, to being in the situation where you have such a difficult first round opponent. But the effort tonight, I thought, was there, and it was just a matter of talent. And the Nets' talent is going to beat out pretty much everybody in the NBA. So let's get into the box score, and then we'll talk about all the stuff that happened after the game. Starters tonight, you didn't have Robert Williams. He's out with a sprained ankle. You didn't have Kemba Walker. He's out with a knee. That's not a good sign, by the way. Same knee that was surgically repaired. He's just cooked at this point, unfortunately. You'll see, occasional good games from him, but it's a problem. It's going to continue to be a problem. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse as far as his health goes. I feel really bad for him. The Celtics are saddled with a very, very tough contract, and somebody who's just not going to be able to contribute to the point where you even if you're paying him half that, it would be worth it. So starting instead were Tristan Thompson, who's been starting and had a great game last game, not so much tonight. We'll talk about it in a second. And Romeo Langford, who I mentioned, was pretty good. Tatum played his ass off again tonight. 40 minutes for him, 40 points, 12 of 22 from the floor, 3 of 7 from three. 17 of 17 from the free throw line. Outstanding. 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. And you can't, you can't ask more of the guy. He's now put up 90 points in 2 games. That's remarkable. But what point does the frustration start to seep in with Jason Tatum? At what point does he go, man, I need to get the hell out of here. This team is not giving me help. Because, if you're putting up these massive scoring games on a regular basis, which he is now, and you have no hope of winning this series, which they don't, I think that's pretty frustrating. So the Celtics need to figure out in a hurry how to get Jason Tatum the most amount of help. You can't just rely on the contract extension in the NBA that he just signed. Players, when they want out, get out. They don't stay. You can't convince them to stay. Once they want to leave, they're gone. So the Celtics need to make sure that they do everything they can to make Jason Tatum happy and comfortable and in the best position to win. So he played really well. Tristan Thompson was so effective in game 3 and was just the opposite of that tonight. 5 points, just 6 rebounds in 23 minutes, 2 of 4 from the floor, 1 assist, 2 steals. Just wasn't, he was still trying. They were able to box him out better. They were able to negate what he was doing offensively better. Then that's obviously game planned and took Tristan Thompson completely out of the equation tonight. Marcus Smart was very good in his 34 minutes tonight, or I should say pretty good. He wasn't very good. He was pretty good. 34 minutes, again, 4 of 12 from the floor, so that's okay. 2 of 9 from 3, not great. 6 of 7 from the free throw line. 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 16 points. So solid performance from Smart there. But again, without Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker in the lineup, you really need him to score more than 16. Obviously, you don't want to ever be in a position where you need Marcus Smart to score a lot of points, but they did tonight, and he wasn't able to because that's just not what his role is. Same goes for Evan Fournier, who played a pretty good game, not great. 28 minutes, 5 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 9 from 3. No rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 16 points. Again, no Kemba Walker, no Jaylen Brown. You need Evan Fournier to score in the 20s. He only had 16. Romeo Langford, I thought had a nice showing in his spot start tonight. 26 minutes, 2 of 6 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, a rebound, an assist, and 9 points. For a guy who's basically still in his rookie year because of how much he's missed from injury and playing in front of a packed crowd in a playoff game, I thought he did pretty well. Though he's so reluctant to shoot, and he passes up wide open threes sometimes because his shot's so crappy and so broken that he's getting a little bit of that Ben Simmons syndrome where he's just unwilling to shoot. He's a willing slasher. He can get up and dunk the ball, but he needs to knock down those corner threes with consistency and not be afraid to shoot them if he wants to be an actual factor on this team going forward or on any team going forward. The bench, I thought, played pretty well. Well, some guys played pretty well tonight. They had to go really deep into it with all those injuries. The most minutes off the bench were Peyton Pritchard, played 24. He was good, 5 of 9 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 12 points. Aaron Nesmith played pretty well off the bench, too, in 19 minutes. He was 4 of 6 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 3, 2 rebounds, no assists, and 11 points. Grant Williams didn't really contribute much in his 21 minutes off the bench. He had 5 points and 2 assists and 2 rebounds on 1 of 4 shooting. And Jabari Parker played 17 minutes off the bench. He did a pretty solid job going 4 of 5 from the floor, giving the Celtics 10 points and 6 boards and an assist and a block off the bench. So more than you usually get out of the bench. Again, maybe is because the Nets had this game so well in hand that some of the Celtics bench guys were able to get easier buckets. But I think the 3-point shooting of Nesmith and Pritchard is promising. That's where the league obviously is, and it continues to trend more towards the 3-point shot. You have 2 guys who I think can knock them down with regularity. So Nesmith and Pritchard, I think, are going to be part of this team unless the Celtics move them, which I'm not opposed to moving really anybody outside of Tatum and Brown at this point. And if you can get the right offer for those guys, trade them, sure. But I do think that they could be important parts of the rotation next year because really we just need to start looking ahead to next year and then the year after that because there's one more. There's no way the Celtics win this last game in Brooklyn. I can't see how that's going to happen. And I mentioned the Nets' big 3 was dominant tonight. 39 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists for Kyrie. James Harden, 23 points, 18 assists, and 5 rebounds. Kevin Durant, 42 points and 5 assists and 4 rebounds. Durant was 14 of 20 from the floor. Harden, 8 of 12 from the floor, and Kyrie, 11 of 24 from the floor. All very efficient. I mean, no one's more efficient than Kevin Durant. I mean, the guy is just an absolute assassin. So before we get out of here, let's talk about what happened after the game. And by the way, I see you in the chat there, Leonard, saying one more game until our misery and agony is over. Yeah, until the offseason, and they do nothing, and it frustrates us more. And Brandy, I appreciate you sneaking away from the World Girls for saying hi to me. Much love to you as well. Always appreciate everybody who's in here, whether you are sneaking away from World Girls or just coming in here to say hi. I always appreciate it. So if you're not aware, and you probably are at this point, after the game, 2 incidents with Kyrie Irving, who obviously is public enemy number one in Boston, and how he left, the comments he said the other day about, the racism in the city, et cetera, et cetera. I've talked about it a lot on my basketball podcast. I'm going to continue to talk about it tomorrow with Sap when we do our pick and roll show, and that will be up sometime in the afternoon tomorrow. But Kyrie Irving decided to take out his frustrations with the boos and all the media attention about his return to Boston with fans, and walk to the Celtics midcourt leprechaun mascot and stomp on its face, which, it's immature and it's petulant, and Kyrie Irving should have zero problem with the Celtics organization, who bent over ass backwards to make him comfortable here, always wanted him. The fans bought his jerseys, bought his shoes, wanted him to stay, gave him a standing ovation when he said he was going to resign here, was always in his corner. So he should really, the fact that he feels the need to go to the logo and stomp on it, I mean, it's obviously not a crime. It's not something that he should be suspended or fined for, maybe fined, because it's just disrespectful. But it just shows that I think he's just an immature guy who likes to think he's always the smartest person in the room. And it just shows that I for someone who thinks he has it figured out, I don't think he has anything figured out. And he it's just such a rude, petulant thing to do. I don't get it. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right to do that to any organization, to disrespect them like that, especially one that organization did you no harm, did you no ill will. Danny Ainge and Wick Grousbeck and Brad Stevens all could have, bashed him out the door like so many organizations do when free agents leave or they trade away players. They instead have gone the complete opposite route and abundantly praised Kyrie Irving as a person, as a player. So he should have no qualms with the organization. And again, the fans loved him when he was here. It's just when he, broke his word and gave up in the Bucks series, and when he chose to get a nose job instead of sticking around for his teammates, in the series against the Cavs the year before, it rubbed fans the wrong way, and I think that's right. But that was just such a ridiculous, childish thing for him to do. The bigger story, obviously, and I do think you can talk about both these things, is after when Kyrie was heading back to the locker room, some asshole fan threw a water bottle at him and was quickly arrested and escorted from the arena and should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. It's unacceptable. It's it hurts the reputation of Celtics fans and the city. It's treating players like they're, I think Kyrie or Kevin Durant said this, like they're, animals in a zoo where you throw something at them. They're human beings. They're playing a sport. It's disrespectful. It's hateful. It's not just a stupid thing to do. It's a cruel thing to do to anybody. Kyrie Irving, as much as I dislike him as a fan of the Celtics, he's done me no personal harm. He's done that fan, if you can even call him that, who threw that bottle, no personal harm. And so to throw something at him because of something he did to your favorite basketball team, I mean, it's not just idiotic. It goes beyond that. It's criminal. It is. And I hope that fan is obviously going to be banned for life and should be. And I hope that they have a way of enforcing that. And I hope that he has to spend a little time in jail and has to pay a large fine, because that's just unacceptable. And you had 17,000 there, and 16,999 of them were well behaved, and this one piece of shit ruins it for everybody and makes it a talking point again of Boston being a racist city. And frankly, I don't know this person. I don't care to ever know this person. I don't know if he threw the water bottle because he was a racist or just a dick, but just because he threw a water bottle at somebody doesn't necessarily mean he's a racist. Just as somebody not throwing a water ball at Kyrie doesn't mean they're not a racist. The whole problem I have with this, and again, I'm going to talk about it a lot with Sap tomorrow, is that no one's willing to look at nuance, and that these two stories, the stomping on the logo thing and the water bottle, happened simultaneously. And the water bottle is obviously the bigger deal because that's a criminal issue. But it's saying, no, people are saying that you can't talk about both. Well, why not? Both things happened. One doesn't erase the other from happening. Just because one's a bigger deal doesn't mean that what Kyrie did on the logo is anything less than childish. I think you can have a conversation about both and be able to criticize Kyrie for that when at the same time condemn the fan. Again, I don't even like using that word, the asshole who threw the water bottle, because they're not the same thing. They're two different incidents. You're allowed to talk about both, and you're allowed to say that if somebody's booing Kyrie, it doesn't necessarily make them racist because they're booing Kyrie. Some people might be because they are, but I believe the vast majority are booing him because of how things went when he was here in Boston. And he sort of weaponized that before the series even began. And I didn't think that was fair then. I don't think it's fair now. I heard Kevin Durant after the game saying, that's how people are in Boston. And frankly, I think that's bullshit. Are there racists in Boston? Of course. Is it worse than any city in the United States? I mean, I'm not black. I can't say that definitively. I would guess it's very similar in almost any city you go in the United States. Maybe it's worse in Boston. It very well may be. I don't have the ability to say that. But I will say, with anything, painting with a broad brush like that and saying that's just how people in Boston are, fans in Boston are, that's an equally bad thing to do. To label somebody, an entire group of people, as racist, that's not right. That's not okay. That's perpetuating the problem. That's not being intelligent about something. That's not looking at that's not solving the actual issue. That's not telling the truth. That's not trying to be constructive. And it's something that just creates further animosity between the athlete and the city for no reason. Again, most of those fans were on their best behavior and had no racial or racist intent. And yet you have Kevin Durant saying that's just how people in Boston are. And I think that's just not right. And I'm not defending anybody here. If you throw a water bottle like that asshole did, ban him for life, prosecute to the fullest extent of the law, period. He hurt the reputation of the city. He embarrassed himself, his family, friends, associates, Celtics fans. He makes us all look bad. But because he does something stupid doesn't mean you can label everybody who's a Celtics fan as racist. That is dangerous and it's wrong. And both things should be condemned strongly. Painting with that broad brush in any sense is never good. It's never productive. Saying, all these, I'm Jewish, saying all Jews are like that. All Bostonians are like this. All black people are like that. All gay people are like that. All Muslim people are like this. It's never going to be an accurate way to portray a group of people. And that's what creates stereotypes and creates back and forth animosity. And it's a problem. It's a problem in society that people do too often paint with that broad of a brush. And so this is just another example of it. I wish that we weren't talking about this. I wish that we could just be talking about Kyrie stomping on the logo like a little baby. But instead, this piece of shit fan, again, I hate calling him that, has made this a conversation too. You can talk about both. One maybe is overshadowing the other, but that doesn't mean that you should. Kyrie stepping on the logo does not excuse the fan for throwing the water bottle. I don't know if that's why he did or his motivations. I can't get into somebody who would do that shoes because it's just such a ridiculously stupid and cruel thing to do. But you can still criticize Kyrie without saying you're defending the water bottle thrower or saying that racism is okay. You're allowed to talk about both. And right now, the conversation I see on Twitter is we can only talk about the water bottle thing. I think that's just wrong, and I think people should condemn Kevin Durant saying that's how Boston people are. I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. just in general, you can't paint with that broad of a brush. So, the game was one thing, the post game was another. I think the Celtics have 1, 2, 3 Cabo in this last game written all over them. I can't see much of motivation for them to come out and play a game that after they just got blown out in their own court. So I think one more game left in the season, but that doesn't mean you'll see the end of me, as I'll be doing more basketball content with SAP, still every day during the playoffs, covering the games. I'll be back on this channel doing, everything that happens in the Celtics offseason. I'll tell you more about this if and when they get eliminated, and Patriots stuff too. Maybe I'll do some Red Sox stuff too. So make sure you stick here on this channel and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment. I appreciate everybody for being here. And I've gone 20 minutes now, which is far longer than I've ever gone before for these post-game things, but a lot of stuff went on. So that's how it goes. Celtics lose tonight again. Final score 141-126. Nets are up 3-1. The season is almost, as Leonard put it, mercifully over. And we will see what happens on Tuesday, but I'll be here. So make sure you check that out, and make sure you check out my Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap. That'll be out sometime tomorrow afternoon. Check out my Twitter for the link. See you, everybody.